I bought TLTW in May. The yield varies, but it's been pretty high, around 15 to 20%. Then earlier this month, the dividend payout fell to a record low, so as a precautionary measure, I sold. Today, I'll explain why I just bought back in. This will be a really quick update on TLTW. I'll skip the opening title with the spinning chair and the disclaimer about not being a financial advisor. Let's dive straight in. If you're not familiar with TLTW, I'll assume you've watched my review that was in May, and it explains how the fund generates such high yields. If you didn't watch the video from earlier this month about selling it, no need to watch that one. I'll do a really quick recap of that right now. I'm an income investor, not a trader, so I focus on the income, not the price. The August dividend fell by 63% versus the July dividend and was about 11 cents lower than the lowest ever dividend. So obviously that seemed very odd to me as an income investor. If a 20-cent dividend was the new normal, that meant that the yield on the fund would be a bit over 7%. And for the amount of risk involved, that's not really enough reward for me to keep it. I only had a few hours to decide whether to ignore this falling dividend or sell. During that time, I found two pieces of information that I shared in that last video. Firstly, the price of call options on TLT had fallen, so that explained at least some of the drop. And secondly, a chat room had some posts about there being a flood of new funds flowing into TLTW after they'd sold their call options for the month. And this meant that there'd be less income per share for that month, but not a long-term problem. I erred on the side of caution and sold on August 2nd at a price of $31.25. Now that some time has passed, here's what I've learned since that last video. First of all, the price dipped after August 2nd, but not that much. It's currently slightly below where it was when I released that last TLTW video. Volatility has picked up in the last couple of weeks, which is good for option premiums. TLTW generates revenue from selling covered calls 2% out of the money on its sister fund, TLT. So let's see what's going on there. TLT is currently trading at $95.37, and if we add 2%, that's $97.28. The calls are sold a month out, so currently the closest match would be September 15 calls. The $97 calls are selling for $1.34, and $1.34 divided by the TLT price of $95.37 equates to a monthly yield of 1.4%. Multiplied by 12 months equates to an annualized yield of 16.9%, and that's back into the normal range for TLTW. Those are just rough numbers. The fund isn't selling the calls today, and the prices fluctuate every day, but we can see that since August 2nd, it's a higher option premium on a lower price, which means a higher yield for TLTW, and that's good news. The second data point is a dividend estimate from a website called Market Chameleon, which is new for me. I read about it in the comments section of Seeking Alpha. They're projecting a September dividend for TLTW of 56 cents, and that would be great. I couldn't find any information about their methodology, and they don't publish previous projections for us to validate their accuracy. So if any of you use Market Chameleon, feel free to comment below if you have an opinion on how accurate their forecasts are. At this point, it appears that the dividend will bounce back again, so I just bought back in at $30.85, which lowered my cost basis slightly. If TLTW goes up from here, lowering my cost basis will make me look clever, but actually it'll just be luck. I have no idea where the price of TLTW will be on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. Like I said, I'm not a trader. Says the guy who bought it, sold it, and just bought it again. A reminder that I consider TLTW a high-risk, speculative income investment, and my allocation is small. It's about 1%. TLTW and TLT have been trending down in price because they move in the opposite direction to long-term interest rates. I bought TLTW in anticipation that it will eventually benefit from a Fed pivot. But if interest rates keep rising in the near term, which is possible, TLTW's price will probably continue to fall. Although I get paid 15% to wait, so all is not lost. Also, I may be early. A more patient investor would wait a few weeks and keep an eye on the price, and assuming that that price doesn't spike, just wait for the announcement of the September dividend before jumping back in. When that happens, I'll be comparing the actual dividend to the Market Chameleon projection to see if their predictions are any good, And if they are, that would be really useful. I'll include links in the description to the TLTW dividend projections, the volatility chart, and a free trial for Seeking Alpha. All right, enough talk about TLTW. Most of the income investments I talk about on this channel are less volatile and yield closer to 9 or 10%. I made a playlist of my favorites, which you can click on here. More armchair income coming soon.